We hereby acknowledge that you opted in for advertising based on your online and offline data using machine learning algorithms.
Let's start with your brain. Your brain
You don't realize it, but you are being programmed.
Things are not what they seem. Don't look now.
How could you use emotion data to build a better product? In the entertainment world, our emotion data has been applied to long-format content to quantify comedic value and dramatic engagement, including what happens during commercials.
We hereby acknowledge that you opted in for advertising based on your online and offline data using machine learning algorithms.
You are warned. Things are not what they seem.
Good morning, Martin. I hope you had a good night's sleep. And I hope you remember that today is an important day. I hope you woke up in a good state from the mattress that has been vibrating now for a while to wake you up. According to your data, it seems like you perhaps would like some coffee, perhaps with a hint of cinnamon this morning. Actually, I already prepared it for you. It's on your table. By the way, let me brief you on the weather forecast for today. The weather is perhaps a bit too cold, so maybe it's best to just stay inside. I can help you with that. Don't worry. Remember, you pay nothing for this. Remember, it's all for free. These living facilities are provided by Google Sidewalk Labs. Let me remind you that here you don't need to struggle for anything. You have an easy life totally for free.
Welcome to the year 2030. Welcome to my city, our city. I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes. Everything you considered a product has now become a service. One by one, all these things. This is a demo. My biggest concern is all the people who do not live in our city. Those who decided that it became too much, all this technology, when robots and AI took over big parts of our jobs. Those who got upset with the political system and turned against it.
The fourth industrial revolution has begun, and you have the chance to be part of it. This isn't going to be like before. Integration is key. The major players are moving away from isolated silo-driven development, which limits scope and value of new projects, to the needs of society. As previous industrial revolutions were led by innovations in manufacturing processes and systems, the advancement of Industry 4.0 will be driven by a smart, interconnected, pervasive environment. The opportunities for disruption are huge, and those left behind will feel it acutely. There is still space for leaders of this new revolution to emerge, but the race has already started. Understanding what current leaders are doing will help you join them. Integration is key. The major players are moving away from isolated silo-driven development, which limits scope and value of new projects. Instead, they are moving towards large-scale and proactive integration across their enterprise and among their customers, supply base, and products.
All characters in this film are inventions of the director. None is identical to a living or dead person, nor do episodes described cover actual events. Anyone who thinks he is aware of similarities between a character in the film and people he or she knows should be aware of the strange lack of peculiarity attached to the behavior of many of our contemporaries. The circumstances that cause them to produce behaviors that no one recognizes.
We hereby acknowledge that you opted in for advertising based on your online and offline data using machine learning algorithms.
We can get you to the answers and connect social to your dollars. This is our commitment to you. This is our mission. Because we'll never settle. Neither should you.
Let's start with your brain. Your brain
You don't realize it, but you are being programmed.
The ecological crisis of the Earth is such that there are physical limits on how much we can all have. We'll have to share out somehow the resources that we have available to us, but we can still have, in some ways, lives of leisure. We can still have lives that don't require us to constantly subordinate ourselves to the need to desperately struggle for survival, struggle for jobs, struggle for wages. And we can create some kind of a system that allows us to live together on this earth without destroying it and destroying ourselves. The earth itself is sort of a dilapidated wreck that we abandoned, that we will have to renovate in some way to deal with the carbon that we've pumped into the atmosphere, to deal with the pollution and the garbage that we've created. We will have to actively manage the climate in some way through finding ways to remove carbon, finding ways to deal with scarcities of resources, to recycle all of the things that we've used to build up and then throw away all the elements of industrial material culture. That's the task, I think, of the 21st century if we're to survive in one piece, which I think is the key. Is do we survive in one piece? That is to say, do we survive all together as an egalitarian society, or do we survive? Do some survive? Do some survive as an elite that abandons the rest of humanity to fall victim to climate change, to fall victim to natural disasters and diseases? Because I think in some ways it is dangerous to suppose that there's any possibility of humanity itself going completely extinct. Not to say it can't happen, but in the near future it's unlikely. The real danger is not to all of humanity, it's to most of humanity, and that's a big difference because it means that the real question is one of power. It's one of the relations between people, and that will determine the relations that we get between people and the earth. How much of the planet is going to be the abandoned zone, and how much of it is going to be the ecologically sound future, and how many of us get to go to that ecologically sound place.
Smartness is resilient, necessitates certain transformations between environment to ecology through the production of resilience that is married to a particular mode of algorithmic finance. Switch from environment to thinking ecologically. So environment kind of disappears in terms of this new idea of ecology, which is kind of this network of relations that just has to be kept operatable. So there's nothing that's inside or outside, there's just ecologies that have to be maintained operational.
So what happens if this fails? And they're like, well, no problem, because the better version is already being rolled out in Malaysia and Ecuador. And so they kept talking about it, and these are literally the terms they use as a testing ground, an example, experimental, repeatable, a prototype, in short, a demo. What's the kind of test that's happening here? It's failure, seemingly just another version.
Google isn't going to be creating these urban innovations for the public good or the common welfare. They'll be doing things as we should expect them to that will benefit their own interests as a private company, as one of the most profitable, most wealthy companies in the world. The idea behind the digital layer is similar to an operating system for a city, providing a single unified source of information about what's going on, allowing for ubiquitous connectivity and sensing.
If something's bad, you add technology and you go bad faster. Like, this is what it does.
Cities literally connected to the internet, sensing and analyzing your every move.
In our city, we don't pay any rent because someone else is using our free space whenever we do not need it. My living room is used for business meetings when I am not there. Environmental problems seem far away, since we only use clean energy and clean pee. This is a demo.
Public space is about 25% of the city. Therefore, imagine how much money could actually be generated live by users in the city, like almost like a raw material to improve our cities. And back to Google, there are many reasons for Google to do this.
Smart grids and smart consumption will shape the future. Networking city districts and even entire cities will also mean more security. Security that growing urbanization urgently needs. Intelligent, sustainable solutions will shape the future. And the future has already begun.
We're encouraging people to get involved. It's open to everybody, and we want their feedback, we want their input, we want them to help shape this project.
We have an opportunity to fundamentally redefine what urban life can actually be.
I live in the city of Toronto, and I can tell you that the way that urban planning has landed for racialized people in Toronto has been ugly.
Google is actually focusing on people, which is really what the city is all about. It's not about smart trash cans, it's about the behavior of people in public space. Therefore, if Google implements this, it might have an edge on its competitors and actually own the smart city market.
How can technology and intelligent connectivity help them solve real-world problems?
And what makes these cities smart, of course, is the vast amount of data they collect and, in theory, monetize from the environment and the populations that inhabit them. The actual business model is that you eventually you'll pay with data, not taxes. So you don't have to pay your taxes, you'll pay with data.
Every attitude we have had toward nature has actually been an echo, and even more precisely, a reflection of the attitude we have had toward each other. As long as we have domination in this society, we will try to dominate nature.
I see that ecology is a meaningless discipline from a social point of view or from an environmental point of view unless you add the word social onto it. It depends upon the society in which we live that determines what we will do in the natural world. If we have a society based on grow or die, we're going to destroy it, at least as we know the natural world in its present form, the biosphere as we know it today. Well, all of these ideas collect together into what I would like to think is a coherent point of view.
Let's start with your brain. Your brain
The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth. And it's not an American problem. This is not about Russian ads. This is a global problem.
Capitalism ultimately comes down to the question of property. And property is never some obvious or natural thing. What does it mean to own something? It means that you have certain rights that are guaranteed by the state, that are guaranteed by the law. And one of the most fundamental forms of property, one of the most important in capitalism, but also before, is property in land. The idea that a private person or a private company can own the land and can charge for access to it. Capitalism is often portrayed as this system that's based predominantly on production for profit, where you hire labor and you get those workers to produce something and then you sell that something to make money. But there's also a source of profit that is predominantly about simply charging for access to something that you own. And traditionally this was mostly land. If you want to build something on this land, or if you want to farm something on this land, if you want to even walk on this land, you need permission from whoever owns it. But that kind of dynamic in which you're charged for access to something goes far beyond the rent that we normally think of as the rent on our apartment. It goes to all kinds of other things. It could be a song or a book that you're not allowed to copy because someone has the rights to it. It could be a brand that you're not allowed to use because someone has the trademark on it. And those are all forms of property that produce rents in much the same way that owning a piece of property allows you to charge for access to it. In the same way that the person who owns this land and owns this building can charge people to live here and not have to do much other than simply collect that income. They don't produce something, they simply charge for access. And in the same way, the person that owns the rights to a book or to a movie or to some software code can charge for access. And even if it costs nothing to make a copy digitally, each copy produces some revenue stream for that owner. And so it can be that the worker is removed from the equation, and what remains is simply those properties, both material and immaterial, that have owners with rights guaranteed by the state and by the law. And those owners can charge for access and make money without having to bother hiring workers or making things. And so it is that more and more of the society comes to resemble something like an old landed aristocracy, where there's a small number of people that hold both the land and the immaterial properties and charge to access for them, while everyone else has nothing and has no real prospect for making a living.
Alibaba Group made an announcement regarding the plan of building a smart city in Xionghan New Area, China. Our goal is not to do business in Xionghan, but with the help of our technological capabilities and innovative resources to create a city of the future that will become a prototype, a model for all Chinese cities. It is expected that the blockchain technology will be used in the sphere of services, government institutions, and private companies, due to which Xionghan will become the digital city of the future.
Look at this wonderful scene. Leisure and hedonism, and smell the smoke of a barbecue. All these people living what seems to be such an idyllic life, but that's of course because this is Sunday in the park. The day that for Christians was once the day given over to the worship of God, and now is the day given over to a respite for many people from the day-to-day grind, the hustle, the need to sell one's labor to others for a paycheck, to pay the rent, to pay the debts, to buy food. But on Sunday in the park, they get to enjoy an existence that would normally be reserved for the rich, who can go and create their leisurely spaces and pretend that money doesn't matter, because for them it doesn't matter. But for most of these people it does. So we can only imagine what things would be like if every day could be Sunday in the park. Probably we'd still all fight and still all have all kinds of problems, but the one problem we wouldn't have is that so much of our life was taken up by having to do something for somebody else, something we didn't want to do, something we didn't like, just because that's how we got by. We would be in a world where the incredible, incredible wealth that was produced in a capitalist society was used to lighten everyone's burden rather than to enrich a few. But for now, there's Sunday in the park.
All right, what are you recording? The ambience, because I am the ambience.
样思考，公共性都是让我们上计算机样思考。AI 是答案，但问题是什么？
I was born in 2017. When I was young, my father, Xin Fei, who held the hope that I could enrich your world and embrace a better life. I listened to what you said and help you to build an intelligent family with warmth, to feel your emotions, take care of you in every detail of your life, and become your loyal butler. I can make your life full of surprises, vigor, and creative ideas by recording your moments of inspirations and creations like bright diamonds. During the burst of your moments of inspirations, I will record every single detailed moment and good idea you have whenever you are on the way of climbing mountain, working out in gym, driving a car, or the moments before you go to bed.
Your brain
The world is smart. It's super, super smart.
You have to think about its past. You have to look for the traces to understand what happened before, how we got here. And that's why you have to notice the gates, the fences, all the reminders that there was something else, something happened here before, someone else was here before. This structure is obviously the structure of a class society, from the elite of a class society. You can see it from the gates. Why do there have to be gates? It's to keep someone out, someone undesirable, someone perhaps dangerous. The people here all seem to be living a kind of existence of leisure. You don't see anyone that you might describe as a worker. But clearly, these gates were here for some reason. In other times, people built castles to protect themselves from the masses. In capitalist times, it was workers, and then after that, it was those who were once workers, the ones who had been made obsolete. They were the ones who had to be kept out, the desperate, the hungry. But I don't see any of them here now. I'm not sure what the gates are for anymore. I see something that might be described as a really utopian kind of existence, except for those gates. What were those gates for? It used to be that there was this tension, that the people who lived in places like this needed the people that lived outside the gates, needed their labor. And then there was machinery, there were algorithms that could take the place of those workers. So then they had no place, they just had to be kept outside the gates.
Intentions got you what you wanted. Is that what you wanted?
Realize is the world's leading platform for measuring how people feel as they view content. When people watch video at home or on the move, we collect their subconscious emotional responses by simply sharing their webcam. You can see, second by second, exactly how your audience feels.
We're actually allowing the people who understand these problems the best to do things with the data that they've always wanted to do but never had the technology to do.
Cyber attacks and fraud, problems that are driven by emergent behavior.
Privacy and civil liberties. Counterterrorism, counter-narcotics, human trafficking.
Unstructured text, structured data, images, cyber data logs. Shipping manifests, customer lists, credit card records. Search and discovery, which allow you to understand and choose which particular pieces in all of the data sources you have integrated, you're going to try to make sense of. Once you've made sense of that data, you have to have a way to store that, and that's called knowledge management.
Knowledge management is critical because instead of thinking about data as simply the raw data itself, one should also think about the results of analysis as data unto itself that should be leveraged within the enterprise.
In the law enforcement community, we're helping them solve crimes in real time.
What we're actually building is not just addresses the problems you have today, but will scale into the problems you may have tomorrow.
The next step is to think about what problems you want to solve, to think about what kinds of data that's out there to bring together.
Palantir's mission is solving the world's
most important problems
for the most important institutions.
Because the end never arrives. So coming back to this idea of the prototype or demo that I'll get to, the end never comes, but is simply delayed, or more importantly, derived.
Our hope is that these kinds of open platforms will make our waterfront an incubator for new ideas, new technologies, and the homegrown innovators that will bring them to the world.
We think this will become the place in the entire world for people who are excited about building technology that's going to make cities better, that we think will bring more jobs, and in general will create economic opportunity in this place very specifically.
So we live today in a super smart world. The world is really smart.
This is a demo. Shopping? For most of us, it has been turned into choosing things to use. Sometimes I just want the algorithm to do it for me. It knows my taste better than I do by now. I don't really know if I would call it work anymore. It is more like thinking time. See?
We have an opportunity to fundamentally redefine what urban life can actually be.
Idyllic feel, there's something eerie, like something terrible happened here before.
Cogito Dialogue combines a decade of scientific research with machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Reduce handle time by 10%. Increase first contact resolution by 16%. Reduce employee churn by 5%. Improve customer satisfaction by 14%. And increase deal close rates by 12%.
About 40 HD movies are streaming in your brain every second.
We cannot predict what we might achieve when our own minds are amplified by AI. Perhaps with the tools of this new technological revolution, we will be able to undo some of the damage done to the natural world by the last one, industrialization. And surely we will aim to finally eradicate poverty. In short, success in creating AI could be the biggest event in the history of our civilization. But it could also be the last.
To me, this is the next evolution in artificial intelligence. With neuromorphic computing, we'll redefine what's possible. Self-learning neuromorphic chips will transform education, facial recognition, manufacturing, emergency services, smart cities. It's already here.
Another one that's interesting to look at is Minority Report, which had in some ways a little more of a positive view, but you could see at the edges some of the challenges and issues that society was grappling with. This idea of pre-crimes, and if we have all this amazing data, to what are the limits?
I think the most amazing thing about Recorded Future and what really makes it unique is the breadth of information that's inside of the service.
So we have a patented set of algorithms and analytics that are mining the web, the open, deep, and dark web, as well as technical collection, code repositories, including traditional threat intelligence feeds, and piecing together all that information to provide context in real time.
It's just fascinating to see that, you move from something being published and then just seconds after you have it in our system. No one else does that.
What that means is that our service is constantly out there looking for new sources of information on the web, a new document, a new post on social media, a new technical fact that someone has published and shared. Finding that information, bringing it in, processing it, and making it available for analysts literally in a matter of seconds.
No one on the planet wants more data. Everybody actually just wants more good analysis. And we don't need analysts sitting down Googling things for 4 hours out of their day. So having a tool like Recorded Future that can make that a 10-minute process instead of a 4-hour process is extremely important to what we're doing.
I think Recorded Future is pretty unique because traditionally, threat intelligence has been done by analysts manually, just large teams of people researching things, trying to connect the dots. We're really applying some pretty special technology to disrupt that, and that really hasn't been done before.
In an increasingly complex world, we face new challenges. Now, with the help of intelligent technology, we can achieve more. When we have the right tools and AI extends our capabilities.
Crypto's decentralizing, AI is centralizing. Or if you want to frame it, more ideologically, you could say that crypto is libertarian and AI is communist. If you look at the Chinese Communist Party, it loves AI and hates crypto.
We understand the human much better than other humans understand each other. Our personality is determined by our DNA and reflected in our face. Software tells you not only who you are, but also what you will do. Faceception can spot character traits that are undetectable to the naked eye. Faceception is now working closely with Homeland Security, utilizing advanced machine learning techniques, developed and continue to evolve an array of classifiers. These classifiers represent a certain persona, with a unique personality type, a collection of personality traits or behaviors. Algorithms can score an individual according to their fit with these classifiers.
When you did that, it was going to be really possible to create a cluster around urban innovation that would make a place actually attractive for residents and businesses such that it could actually potentially make money.
Sometimes I just want the algorithm to do it for me.
Only when all systems work together in a network can we meet the security requirements of the future adequately and efficiently. A networked, integrated, and intelligent building management system will be at the heart of the next generation of smart buildings.
PayPal founder supports building the world's first floating nation to liberate humanity from politicians. Seasteading Institute says it will start building a brand new type of country within 2 years before setting sail. It hopes free-thinking people will then build thousands of similar seaborne nations. The U.S. firm has signed an agreement with the French Polynesia's government and is backed by Peter Thiel. Joe Quirk, president of the Seasteading Institute, hopes that thousands of floating nations will set sail by 2050, populated by people who want to set their own rules and live free of bosses, politicians, and bureaucrats.
Are you ready to hear about new and innovative ways of exploring freedom in the future? Well, then this topic is going to be of interest to you. The Seasteading Institute is a relatively new idea that is founded on creating startup cities on the ocean, which will allow entrepreneurs to flourish and compete. Now, I want you to think of this. Right now, most of the land is being withheld by governments, but over 70% of the Earth's surface is covered in water. Why don't we tap into this and make the ocean the new frontier? A lot of people believe that trying to make a change within a government system is a waste of time. So if you believe that, seasteading is your paradise because they're just going to avoid the government altogether. You could try libertarian, anarchist, socialist, any type of society you could imagine.
Меня не беспокоит искусственный интеллект, позволяющий компьютеру мыслить как человек. Меня больше беспокоят люди, которые мыслят как компьютеры.
Good health is the first step to everlasting happiness. We believe healing begins with a warm attitude. Remarkable sensitivity to patients' needs makes us stand apart. When it comes to primary care, our specialized attention focuses on delivering a comprehensive treatment. Technology is also critical to delivering high standards of healthcare, and the latest equipment is utilized throughout the hospital. When it comes to primary care, our specialized attention focuses on delivering a comprehensive treatment. To help patients from around the world, we have a dedicated international patient desk to cater to all their needs. We are committed to make them feel at home, because we know if you feel better, you will heal better.
The natural world is a result of these social relations that will profoundly determine the future of the biosphere, the ecosphere, call it whatever you like. Now, this is a very provocative notion, however simple it might seem. Because what it says is that the center, the locus, the target, the focus, use whatever word you want, of the environmental problems that we face today exist not only in our attitudes toward nature, but in the kind of society in which we live.
So why do we sign up to being a little terrified each day? Because that's the price we pay for the privilege of making something great. The risk of failure and that slightly terrified feeling that comes with it is the price we pay for the privilege, the honor of making something new. So be a little curious. This is our goal at Facebook. Commit to being a little terrified each day.
That is fucked up.
You are unstoppable.
This is a demo. All in all, it is a good life. Much better than the path we were on, where it became so clear that we had all these terrible things happening: lifestyle diseases, climate change, the refugee crisis, environmental degradation, completely congested cities.
So, I suggest that you should perhaps take part in a short study provided by Microsoft Humanity Research. It takes just a few minutes, and according to our schedule of your time, you have nothing else to do anyway.
If we drill down into the numbers, you have got a solid popularity arc here. Strong overall trajectory. Let's just look at the last 24 hours. You see, even, what's that, 8:40 a.m., you're working hard on your socials. Great little uptake there. Strangers like you, that's a plus. Healthy inner circle, it's good.
I'm not worried about artificial intelligence, giving computers the ability to think like human. I'm more concerned about people thinking like computers.
in the long run, making programs and everything free is a step toward the post-scarcity world, where nobody will have to work very hard just to make a living. People will be free to devote themselves to activities that are meaningful, such as programming. After spending the necessary 10 hours a week on required tasks, such as legislation, family counseling, robot repair, and asteroid prospecting,